I have one other question. I'll try to make it brief. And that is, are there random events in human experience?
Never.
Never.
Nothing is ever random. Everything is always orchestrated by the manager called law of attraction. There is never even the slightest little glitch or flaw in that. Everything is always a dynamic, dramatic, perfect vibrational match, proportionate to whatever you are offering every single time.
Okay, I guess this is a sort of philosophical question. So are you saying then that human consciousness has always existed from the dawning of time?
No.
Okay, so for example, before human consciousness then, what was it that was attracting? Were these physical forces that were, or non-physical forces that were attracting one another?
You have to understand that every consciousness is a point of attraction.
So whether it's human or non-human.
Yes. And first there is thought, then there is thought form, then there is manifestation.
So for example, do rocks have consciousness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and they have points of attraction. And they are a large part of the balance of your planet. Their attraction is different from yours, just like the cell in your body is different from the conscious offering of thought. But it is all consciousness, and it is all acted upon by law of attraction.
Okay. So the second part to this question then would be, how would Abraham explain terrible events, things, for example, like what's happened in Tibet today, where you have this wonderful ancient culture that teaches compassion and wisdom, and they're in a terrible situation, or
well, we would say that it is not so different, and we are not wanting to trivialize it at all. It is not so different from Jerry and Esther sitting in the midst of what is an otherwise perfect life, worrying about something hitting their motorhome. And if you took generations of people that were focused upon unwanted things, we want to go back to the power of your question there. How do bad things happen? And we say it is because someone holds themselves in a place of vibrationally disallowing the good that would be there otherwise. It's like a shadow. It's like a thought that so many have thought, that it becomes a shadow that disallows that particular topic or that particular region or that particular individual from receiving the well-being that would be there otherwise. In other words, taking it more specifically, as Jerry and Esther worry about their personal belongings being harmed by inconsiderate others, they put a shadow over their experience, which causes the manager to place to them someone inconsiderate and a match to their concern, rather than someone who is considerate and a match to their desire. Because they were shining a spotlight on their concern rather than on their desire. And it's the same sort of thing. That's why we say there's a war against drugs, a war against AIDS, a war against cancer, a war against poverty, all of those things getting bigger. Humans tend to think that they can take this thing that is not wanted and they can push on it until they will obliterate it. And then there will be the absence of it. And we say law of attraction says the opposite of that happens. The more attention you give to it, the bigger it becomes, and the more embroiled within it you become, you see. So if there is not a source of bad stuff, then why do bad things happen? And we say because people find themselves in vibrational discord with the good that they want. And in the disallowance of the good, they experience the bad. And then they conclude, as they start gathering the statistics of all the bad stuff that people are living, there must be an assertion of bad stuff. And we say, no, it is just the disallowance of the well-being that would be there otherwise.
So is that so? Even so, for example, you have a whole group of people that maybe disallowing their well-being, but you seemingly have another force that is actively seeking to harm another.
But the thing that we're wanting you to understand is that all of it comes from that vibration. It's hard for you to hear this sometimes, we know. But as you stand back from broader view, you begin to understand that, let's say that you have been practicing the art of allowing your well-being. And you're just tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You feel great. And you go to a city where there is extreme violence, a lot of crime. Almost nobody makes it out alive that comes wearing the clothes that you wear, you see. But you don't know this. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. So the manager that is orchestrating by law of attraction doesn't park you next to the car that will scrape you, so to speak. In other words, the manager provides for you a sequence of circumstances and events that leave you only a vibrational match to the well-being that is your dominant vibration. It isn't about something that is out of control or unmanageable. But the reason that it sometimes feels that way is that most people are offering very sloppy vibrations. You watch your television, and while it may help you to give birth to the things that you desire, you offer all kinds of vibrations about what you do not want. You put up monuments to the Holocaust and the horrors. You continue to make movies about them so that generations that would not be touched by them at all sit and relive and feel the full emotion as if they were right in the middle of it. And then you say, why is so much well-being pinched off? And we say, you practice it every day. Well, we teach art of allowing, but you've become brilliant at the art of resistance as the humans, you say.
Well, what would Abe say to the idea that if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it?
We would say, anything you give your attention to, you must repeat. It is law. If there is something in your history that you would like to repeat, talk about it a great deal. If there is something in your history you would not like to repeat, ignore it. Turn the other cheek. Now, some say, well, that feels like denial, or that feels impossible. And we say, here's what you really intended to do with it. You intended to have the exposure to it and let it give birth to the desire. And you knew that what was not wanted would give birth to what was wanted. And then you said, I will turn my attention to the new idea, and I will achieve vibrational harmony with that, and I will be a forerunner. I will be an inspired co-creator. I will be a helper in bringing forth something that is wanted.
So would Abe endorse something like a Holocaust memorial if the intention was to teach tolerance? I mean, would that be a vibrational match to that rocket of desire for a future that is free from things like genocide and...
Well, we would say to you that a football stadium or a gallery of flowers would be about 1,000,000 times more beneficial to your planet. In other words, what you're saying is, why not make a monument that naturally makes us feel miserable when we go inside and then use it as a teaching tool to feel better? And we say, why not make a monument that just makes you feel better? Why go about it the hard way? When you talk about tolerance, what do you mean by that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer, but I think accepting people for who they are and allowing them to practice their beliefs and social forms, so long as it doesn't harm other people.
Recognizing that we're all in this together, and that if I am to be allowed my preferences, then they all must be allowed their preferences. And that's really what we're all about here, isn't it? Because, you see, we can understand how it would be difficult to allow others their choices if I believe that their choices may infect me. In other words, as I look out into the piles of manifestations and I say, that's a good pile, but that's a bad pile, and I don't know about my own point of attraction, and so I think that that bad pile could eventually seep into my experience, then we certainly can understand why you would want to push against that bad pile. But when you understand that it is all about law of attraction, and you understand that your attention to it is what invites it into your experience, you understand that your connection to source energy is what allows the well-being, we do not encourage tolerating, because tolerating sort of implies looking at what is not wanted and living with it. While allowing, what allowing really is finding a way to allow the energy that is sourced to flow through me anyway, you see. We do not believe that there is anything left undone. In other words, have you noticed that the questions that you came with have been answered? Have you noticed that this gathering actually gathered before our physical bodies got here? Are we really at the end of this time?
We have about a minute and a half.
Thank you.
We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. It is wonderful to come together with those like you, who are coming more and more in every day to recognize that your place in this universe is one of utter attraction. Have we convinced you of your worthiness, and that you stand in the place of grace where well-being is your natural legacy. It was the effort that we offered here. Our powerful and potent words to you that come from all of the wisdom that we can gather from infinite and instant intelligence go like this. Lighten up. Have more fun. Be more playful. Let the well-being that is natural into you flow. For you cannot get it wrong, and you will never get it done. There is great love here for you. We are complete.